people, but if not, hopefully they'll be able to come later on and join us. So yeah, if people want to like introduce themselves, like you guys can just tell us your name on the chat and where you're from and stuff. But essentially, I'm just gonna start and kind of mute some of you. I'm gonna mute you guys for now for a bit, while we do our introduction and get to the speaker session. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Cecilia. Okay, sorry, I was checking who. Okay, yeah, so yeah, my name is Cecilia. I'm the founder of Hybris Media. And I'm really grateful that you guys are here today on your Saturday. I know, I mean, it's a weekend. I'm sure it's not easy for you guys to be spending your time doing a discussion or a webinar. So I'm really grateful you guys are here today. So Hybris Media by itself, so we are an independent media platform. We cover real stories about real people, and we try to cover a bunch of different issues about a bunch of different, sorry, somebody just joined. Yeah, we try to cover, okay. We try to cover a bunch of different issues from all over the world. So we try to personalize the big issues and make news into something more positive. And usually every month we do kind of this theme. And this month we did Women's Equality Month. And which is why we're doing this discussion about women's equality. And the Hybris Media discussion by itself used to be a monthly event that we did back before COVID-19 didn't exist, and we were able to talk to each other in person. And yeah, we used to do these type of discussion, and we always try to gather people from communities to talk about different solutions about how we can solve different types of issues in our everyday society. And that's what we aim to do today in terms of gender rights and gender equality in this sense. And without further ado, I'm pretty much gonna start our discussion now. And I will now introduce our speakers to you. We have two lovely ladies, which I'm super grateful that they have accepted to be our speakers today. Both of them work for NGOs that empower women, and both of them has had a lot of experience about these type of issues. And I'm pretty much gonna let them introduce themselves and let their session speak for themselves. So without further ado, I'll let our first speaker, Sophia, take the floor.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Sorry. Sorry, one thing, Sophia. Also, I want to tell everybody that this is being recorded, and all the results will be published on hybrismedia.com later on. So if there's people who, for example, don't want their videos or pictures being seen, you can always like turn off your cameras, or if you have an issue with that, just kind of let us know. And if you have friends who wanted to come and didn't have time to attend today, you can also like have them just look at the results published on Hybris Media. Okay, sorry, Sophia, go for it.
That's fine. I'll apologize because these are the joys from working from home. There's a background noise, and there's currently the call to prayer. But I'm just going to go ahead if that's fine with you ladies, okay? Okay. So I'm Sophia Ivan Garba. I am Nigerian. I work with an organization called Generations for Peace. It's an international organization that's focused on peace building. I also founded Empowering Women for Excellence Initiative, which is an organization that focuses on girls and women's empowerment in Nigeria. So I'm kind of juggling all of that together. And I'm very happy to see you all here today. Should I hand it over to Lean to introduce first, or just go ahead?
No, you can go first, and then Lean will be second.
So ladies, welcome. I'm wearing a black band to kind of respect and commemorate a very big movie star, Chadwick Boseman, who who passed away yesterday, and he's otherwise known as Black Panther. And one reason I'm doing that is because his movie Black Panther was one that was very kind of, it showed a lot about how gender norms and stereotypes can be crushed. And he's personally a big, I mean, for me, it's a big loss. I'm just going to start off right away. If you can share, if you can see my screen, just give me a nice thumbs up so I can see. Excellent. All right. So I'm just going to go straight into the presentation for today. I wanted to start off with some definitions, okay, just for us to understand a bit better some of the terms. I recognize that a lot of us here do know these things and understand them. I think it's still important, however, to just refresh our memories with some of these terms. So we're here to talk about equality. We're here to talk about gender-based discrimination. And I wanted us to start off with the definitions of gender and kind of the differences. So gender refers to socially and culturally mediated expectations and roles associated with masculinity and femininity. Now, this is basically telling us that when you speak of gender, you're speaking of the expectations and the roles that are constructed socially and culturally and that are expected of people. But when you speak of sex, you're referring to biological femaleness and maleness, so women and men. And that has to do with, the body. What is in the body? What does a woman have and what does a man have? So it's always important to differentiate these two. And this is from Unger's 1979 article about defining gender and speaking about gender. Now, another interesting thing is that there are more than 2 genders. There are 64 genders. And but there are 2 that are most recognized, and they are male and female. So that is referred to as gender binary. It's usually based on anatomy, so the genitalia, and that's why a lot of times you hear more about male and female and male. The focus usually is on the gender binary, and Mayor Abrams also speaks of this in his 2019 article. So if you want to learn more about the different types of gender or the types of gender, you can always look that up. But today we're just really going to focus a lot on the gender binary, which is female and male. Now, one of those words that is sometimes hard to pronounce, patriarchy. So patriarchy is commonly described as a system of social structures and practices where men govern, oppress, and exploit women. So this is a system. It's not just one act. It's about a system of structures and practices. So it's a very widely practiced system, an embedded system. And one would say, well, okay, probably good for men, but the interesting thing is that patriarchy encourages, it enables oppressive thinking, and it limits oppressive, and it limits gender roles, as well as the political and economic subordination of women. And as a matter of fact, it is harmful to everyone, men inclusive. And you would say, why, if it is a system that kind of puts men up there? The issue is that even when a man does not agree with a certain behavior, because he has to, live up to, in quote, an expected behavior, this is harmful to them as well. So this is a system that is not of benefit really to anyone. And you can read more about that on the link you'll receive this. Let's talk about equity and equality. So sometimes this is mixed up. What's the difference between equity and equality? So equity is about giving people what they need so that things can be fair. And that is giving more to those who need it. So a particular example could be there is a program on, let's say, economic empowerment in a situation or in a community where more men have jobs than women. And there's a program that comes in and says, okay, we are going to make sure that 70% of the beneficiaries are women. So you are deliberately given more. So affirmative action, you're giving more to the women to help reach equality. So equity is a way of reaching equality, and equality is ensuring that every individual has an equal opportunity to make the most of their lives and talents. So whatever you are, whoever you are, at the end of the day, equality is not about making one better in quotes, or having better opportunities than the other. It is about everyone having an equal opportunity to make the most of their lives. So what are the effects of patriarchy and inequality? It affects and limits chances for opportunities for employment and economic empowerment. And these are just some of the things, by the way. And I'm sure that you have possibly experienced some of the effects of patriarchy and inequality. It promotes gender-based violence and violence against children, because if it is an expected way of behavior, then, as I said before, even if it's not something that's necessarily liked or approved or endorsed by a person, because it is expected, they get involved in it. Patriarchy and inequality puts pressure on men to display and act masculine, whatever that is defined in within their context, even when this is negative. And then it also stunts growth and development. They stunt growth and development, and they promote violence. So these are just some of, some examples of what patriarchy and inequality, the effects they have on our communities, our individuals, and so on. Just very quick numbers and looking at the scope, okay? So we have, according to UN Women, 243 million women who are aged between 15 and 49 have experienced sexual or physical violence by an intimate partner. And this is recent data within the space of 12 months, March to March 2019 to 2020. 137 women are killed every day by a member of their own family. This is 2017 data. And actually this number has gone up, and we see this a lot in the media and the news. We're seeing femicide, honor killings, and whatnot, honor killings. This is on the increase. And this in itself is a staggering number, that all over the world, 137 women are killed by a member of their own family. As of March 2020, there were 2,095 billionaires in the world. Only 11.6% of them are women. That's 244. That is staggering if you think about it. And this comes from the Fortune Billionaires list. COVID-19 has not helped at all, because emerging data has shown us that there's been increased violence against women and girls, particularly domestic violence, because of the measures. The lockdown means more people are locked with their perpetrators. It means there are less economic opportunities. It means there is there's more stress. There's much more stress in homes and communities. And the data shows us that violence has intensified greatly. So if you want to read more about all of this, there's so much data out there from UN Women, from UN itself. We can always read that. So lastly, I'll just talk about the intersectionality of it all. When you speak of a gender, oh, it's a woman, you also need to think about, oh, I'm a woman, you also need to think about other things and other factors that contribute to inequality and gender issues in the community. You're speaking about race. As a Black woman, I read an article said, it's bad enough I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman. And that means I will be treated very differently, even from a white woman, for example. So even within the gender of women, it's not homogenous. There are many other things that can affect and contribute. You speak of a socioeconomic class. Am I able to go to the same kind of school that this other person has gone to? You speak about other aspects of identity, religion, ethnicity, nationality, your caste. If you're traveling in an airport, because of your passport, the color of your passport, how are you treated? So gender in itself and all these different factors that feed into it kind of really boost inequality and gender issues. I'll just give a few quick examples. It's possible that my time is up already. Some quick examples. I have walk down the road in a place where I'm a minority race, right? I walk down the road and in broad daylight, and someone is walking towards me, and then he calls an amount of money in the daytime. I'm not going to say the amount. He says 20x. So if that was Nigeria, it would be 20 naira. And what he was doing was propositioning me because I was a woman and I'm a Black woman in that situation. So he immediately thought that, oh, this one is available for whatever I want. We had a situation where even within COVID, and COVID has started and the lockdown has started, we had, I was walking with a friend, a man drove up and just said, I'm not going to say what he said, but it wasn't nice. And I was like, it's COVID, seriously? So you're going to find a lot of these type of things happening. And something even more serious I could give an example of is when my father died, I was very, very young. I wasn't 4 years old yet. And my uncle at that time wanted to give me out to be married at that age so that I could grow up in my husband's house. He would have caught my future. I certainly would not be here before you today if that had happened. So thank God, and thanks to my mom who fought and made sure that that didn't happen. And growing up with a widowed mother also helped me experience or see the kinds of issues, gender-based issues that are fueled by patriarchy and inequality in the community. So I just wanted to share that and just really share some basic definitions to help us as we take our conversation forward. I'm going to hand it over to Lean to take it from here.
Thank you, Sophia. It's hard to pick up after your presentation. You did very well. I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Linda Ramli. I'm half Jordanian, half Palestinian. I'm half Palestinian, half Lebanese. I was born in Syria and raised in Jordan. And that's how you see why I get myself confused. I moved to Canada when I was 15 years old, and I've been here since. I right now work as a vice president for FemCare Community Health Initiative. It is an organization that advocates for menstrual equity. We tackle period poverty, and we're looking to put menstrual equity on the agenda, on political agenda. So it has been a hell of an experience, but I'm pretty sure I worked my way through it, and of course gender-based discrimination does come along with that. I'm gonna start telling you about my story. Honestly, growing up, my story is no different than most girls, especially growing up in Middle East. I was not aware of the injustices that women had to go through until I hit my puberty, and aka got my first period, and that's when the life of don'ts started. So don't wear this, don't act this way, don't be out late. So that's when, even if I was not raised in a household where it pushes or forces towards marriage, but it almost is the inevitable fate for a woman. And of course, the desired outcome that fits the narrative of the society. So after that, I started working early in different jobs. And of course, one of the jobs that I recall very loudly gender-based discrimination and is my first role, management role within a US company here in Canada that deals mostly with contractors. Of course, I can tell you stories about the names I would get called for standing my grounds and, sticking to the policy and doing my job. I was certainly not taken seriously. And of course, I can tell you I would go call a manager who happens to be a male, and the whole attitude would shift. And all of a sudden, the contractor or the customer at the time would be speaking politely, and there's no problems. So it didn't dawn on me until 3-4 incidents that happened, and I'm like, it really does take a man to it does take a man for another man to fear him or respect him. And I, as a woman in a management role, was still not taken seriously nor respected. And to prove further, when management shifts would switch, and I would be working with a manager on duty who's a woman, we would have the same problems, and still customers would not believe that a manager is a woman and she is able to solve their problem. And definitely this is because of the patriarchal nature of North America and even worldwide. They're set to believe that women are less capable and women are less qualified. Sometimes we have to call the cops to actually escort them out. So this was definitely one of the experiences where and I was young at the time. I was still a student, and I would experience that on a daily basis. I worked 5 hours, 5 years. 5 hours would have been nice. 5 years, and that would happen constantly. And this is only at one job. So you can imagine 3-4 jobs later with different job titles, we are still faced with the same gender-based discrimination. Now, because of the nature of my work, we do work with reproductive health in relation to mental health. So one of the things that I focus and search is how sometimes gender-based discrimination, not only reproductive health, affects our mental health. It disrupts our potential. It disrupts our mental state, and it takes away from our self-confidence. And in fact, 2 to 3 more women than men experience mental health problems like depression and anxiety. And of course, harmful stereotypes about sexuality, body image is part of this. And additionally, in workplace, the gender gap and inequality, it puts women at a higher risk of mental and physical illness. So you can only imagine the amount of burden that women do have because of just having a job. Soon after I graduated from my first major in TV broadcasting and communication, I started as an entrepreneur. I started my own company. Shortly after, it failed. And of course, I wasn't feeling well. I was taking it, I was being really hard on myself. That's when I think I started shifting the way I look at gender-based discrimination. It was not easy starting my own business as a young entrepreneur. I had to deal with a lot of customers, with a lot of clients, a lot of unsatisfied photographers and videographers. And there is definitely that look if you're, well, she's a woman, will overstep. So after that failure, I started looking into ways of how I can empower myself and how I can feel I reclaim that value. So basically, knowing myself and working previously with an organization that empower women and immigrant women, I knew I was passionate about women's rights and equity. So I started through a Facebook post. I saw that FemCare was actually hiring for volunteers to do their holiday menstrual drive. And that's when I joined. And I was joined as a volunteer, but sure enough, after that, with that extremely rewarding feeling, it made me want to do more. It wanted me to explore more about menstrual equity. And of course, when we say menstrual equity, it does definitely come with gender equity as a main. So I was promoted to a communication director, which means leadership. Basically, I had to look at ways to shift how I look and how I look at myself and how I do that position and make sure that I don't fall in the same rabbit hole as before. As a woman-led organization, sometimes it's not hard because we already do empower ourselves, and we're all women, so we deal we know how to deal with each other. But dealing with the public and business partners, and even the discrimination that it comes with because of the nature of the movement was the challenge. I had to adapt a few skills. So funny enough, I am a planner as a Capricorn. I had to look up some skills, and I came across an article that was done by Harvard Business Review. And I was shockingly surprised that some of the comments on that article was by men and on why women are not still taken seriously at the work job, saying, for instance, women are too emotional. We're not concise, and we don't have enough self-confidence, and we're too emotional to be recognized. So looking at those comments made me feel like I want to be the opposite of all that. And we need, I felt that, who said that, and I started looking at skills, how I can shift the way I take, because I was offended, and I'm pretty sure anybody would feel offended reading those comments. So instead of being offended and sitting there acting and taking that and being a victim, I started looking at ways of how I can shift that feeling inside me and let it empower me rather than take me down. So basically, I started looking at ways where I can adapt new skills like speaking up. So for the longest time, speaking up is definitely not something easy, and we're definitely not taught that in any educational institution. I start asking for feedback. If I ask you for a feedback and you don't give me a feedback, I still ask for another feedback. I want to know. I start following up. If I send an email and you don't respond, I follow up again. And follow up again with a phone call. Start working on building my self-confidence. And even if building my self-confidence means that I exercise for 10 minutes and eat healthy, I start looking at ways how I can build that self-confidence. And I start dealing with negative thoughts. So we all get negative thoughts. And at the moment, I'm like, why did we not learn that at school? Why were we not built that way? I start shifting the way I look at it, and I start, you know what? It's all in the past. We're here today. Why not change this right now? I start trusting myself more. So if I feel like this is not right, I call it how I see it, and I trust myself with it. I start celebrating my accomplishments. I feel like a lot of times we go and we do so much and we forgot to celebrate, stand for a second and pat ourselves on the back and celebrate ourselves. We all do so much and we do think very little of it. So I do think celebrating ourselves will help empower us. And I start talking about my success. How many times do we go to events and we're like, yeah, it's no biggie, I just do this. No, you don't just do this, you do much more and you know it. So why don't we talk about it? So I start looking at things like that. So after that, I today act as a vice president of FemCare, and we're going international, which is very exciting. And advocating for menstrual equity and tackling period poverty has not been an easy ride. And dealing with politicians definitely is not an easy ride. You can only imagine the sexism and everything we go through, and it will not end anytime soon. But you know, I will not give up. I'm not going to give up. We're only going up from here. And actually, I looked up studies that I found really interesting. That beside the feeling of discrimination that women go through every day, 69% of women in America feel more empowered today than ever. And how do they feel empowered? It's literally by including things like finding their passion in life, becoming a parent, eating healthy, like I said, exercising, and even starting feeling that confidence. Is my time up?
Well, yes. But you can have a final statement, Lena.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch real quick on gender equality and equity, because I do keep saying gender equity. If we want to achieve gender equality, gender equity is the way. So what I mean by that is, which is Sophia already touched on, it's the fairness of treatment and for both genders according to their respective needs. So sometimes it does mean treating them equally, and some other times it does mean that treating different but equivalent in obligation, responsibilities, and rights. So it's very important that we do focus on equity, because according to Forbes, we will need 170 years to achieve equality. So how many years do you think we need to achieve equity? Thank you so much, and I'm sorry for taking longer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lean and Sophia. You guys did both a great job, and those were both amazing sessions and presentations as well. So there are two parts of this discussion. So once the speakers have spoken, this part that we're going to go to now is the floor discussion. And the floor discussion, you're pretty much free to ask questions as you like, whether it's like a question to the general participants of this discussion or to the speakers directly themselves. Please feel free, and if you could please use the chat function. I don't know if you guys go to participant, and if you guys see a blue hand, the hands up icon thing, yeah, if you could just click on it, and then I'll point to you guys, and then if you can just like tell your question, essentially. You guys can of course speak directly via video to tell your questions, or if you're uncomfortable with that, you can just do it via chat as well. So yes, I will open the floor discussion now. Do we have any questions? Trudy, yes. Go ahead.
Hi. So my question is, we as women, what role do you think we play in stunting our equality and equity? And I ask that simply because you see so much objectification of women. And I think we are the ones who put ourselves in that place. And maybe it's from a socioeconomic standpoint. Um, it probably has a lot to do with our financial positions, but we put ourselves a lot in a place where we are taken advantage of, basically. And I wonder in that regard, how can we, what can we do? What can we do as women? Because we put our feet down and we say, no, I am not going to be objectified. I'm not going to put on a skimpy bikini for a TV ad. Or I'm not going to use myself as a sex symbol. But then we consider the monetary benefits behind it. And then we place ourselves because it's the reward we get for what we do. And how can we as women, get ourselves out of that, basically?
Would any of the speakers like to start, or any of the participants have a respond to this? If you have a respond, you can use the hand button again as well. Okay, I'll probably give it to one of the speakers then, if nobody would like to. Would any of you guys like to say anything in response?
You want to go first, Lean?
You can go first, it's fine.
Okay. So thank you for the question, Trudy. I think it's it's an incredibly important question. I would say that for me personally, the biggest group of people who are contributing to it are women, contributing to the status, because there are certain things that patriarchy can make you do, but there's some that you have a choice actually to do or not do. And indeed, when there's a group of people who are screaming, we want to be treated differently and so on, and then we have others, it's their choice to do these things, but overall it kind of perpetuates the cycle of discrimination. I would say, and this is one of our approaches at the Empowering Women for Excellence Initiative, is really working on the mindsets of women, especially when they're younger, and starting from there. Doesn't mean that you cannot work with older women, absolutely. But then no matter how much you tell me I am wearing blue, until I believe it, as far as my world is concerned, it's not blue. So until we have mindsets that, as Lean mentioned before, start to trust yourself, start to value yourself. Do not use language what's the word? Do not use language that devalues yourself. When someone gives you a compliment, receive it, and receive it openly. Appreciate yourself and the things that you can do, and the things you don't do, learn to do them. Don't feel like this is something I cannot do. The body kind of, it submits to belief. So until we believe it ourselves, until we support and facilitate that change of mindset with girls, with younger women, with adolescent girls, I think that it would continue to be an issue. So that would be one way to address it, I think. Thanks. Lee?
I definitely agree. I feel like there's a lot of lack of education and awareness for younger girls. And myself, I was in that position one day where, I didn't know much. I really lacked a lot of education, starting from getting my period. Like there's a lot of things that we were really not aware of. And I think these topics should be mentioned, and in schools, they should be taught in schools. Yes, sure, a lot of other subjects are important, but how the risks like that is important too, because here's the thing, being a model is a job. What comes with that job is what can be risky, right? Being a sex worker is a job, but what comes with that job is risky. So we have to have a really good foundation of that of awareness and knowledge, women first before any other genders, for us to know that this is what I'm comfortable with and this is not. And maybe I've, you know, like, until we learn what we are comfortable with and we set that foundation, we will keep falling in those risky you know, jobs, or not risky jobs, but what follow that job, or what can possibly come and put us in risk because of a certain job.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Areti from Indonesia just asked a question. What's your opinion? What are your opinions about favoritism, especially the one towards male offsprings? It happens a lot here in Indonesia, and I'm in a helpless condition too. It confused me because here in the family, they think it's normal. Who would like to go first?
I think I'm gonna go.
Okay.
It's not normal. What our parents perceived in the past could be normal is not normal today. So there's a lot of things that maybe my family or my grandparents think it's normal, but because we stepped up and did the change, it is no longer normal, right? So I feel like if we don't, again, start learning those skills and shift how we look at it, instead of just sitting down and dragging ourselves and treating ourselves like the victim, I think we need to start taking that move to change that. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of initiative, and I would hope there's initiatives that pushes for, you know, for this to not be normal, because it's not. So it's an unfortunate event that it still happens, and it does happen in the Middle East, but I feel like if we don't make a change, then, you know, nothing's really gonna happen. It's a vicious cycle. If we don't break out of it, nothing's really gonna happen.
Thank you, Lena. I would just add that absolutely. I guess I understand your situation already, and this is very similar to what I was explaining about my situation when I was much younger. And yeah, and the only reason that was the case was because I was a girl, right? They wanted to marry me off at 3 years old. 3 years and maybe 3 months, something like this. So because at the end of the day, the thinking is that, well, she's not going to amount to anything useful, right? So we might as well get rid of her from now and get money from her husband. But I think that one of the things you can do is absolutely agree with Lean. We must stand up to it. We shouldn't let it happen. And that could mean finding advocates within your family, finding examples and role models of the particular society, because I don't see that it's so much good if you in Indonesia speak of an American role model. That is not within your context, right? So you would want to show a contextual success of this. So, you know, if the boys are being allowed to go to college and the girls are not, there could be a lot of examples of such women within the community who have been successful, who have saved lives, who have contributed. So I would say look for advocates and stand strong, you know, and show them that, you know, things can be different.
Okay, thanks so much, Areti, for that question. I think Trudy had her hands up first, so
yes,
she
thank
would
you.
like.
Yes, to Areti, I think, you know, growing up where I grew up here in the islands, and I think it's probably a global thing where you would have from a child learn that a woman's place is in the home, and bare feet and pregnant is how it's done, basically. So, you know, back then you would have had a lot of housewives, women who just basically take care of the home and take care of the children, take care of the husband, and that's it. But come 20th century, and even way before that, women were finding themselves in the workplace. And for anyone who still thinks that, you know, patriarchy is what, you know, matters, if you're not the male in the family, or if you're not bringing in the dough, as the case may be, then you know, like Safia say, you don't amount to anything much, then, you know, they are blinded by what their perceptions are. The reality is, you know, just the other day I was having a discussion with my mom, and she was saying to me, you know, when we were kids, I have two sisters and a brother, and when we were kids, you know, her focus was always that, you know, we leave for school and the house is clean and she cooks. And I asked her, I said, did daddy ever cook? And she said, yeah. And listen, in my recollection, other than, you know, if there's a family outing or something, my father was a bit of a socialite, if you wanted to be. So you saw the best version of himself as a male when he's out and around people. But for me as a child, I don't have that recollection of my father other than him being around. I don't have that memory that, you know, he was he was the man who helped his wife or helped with the children. I can't recall that. So that when we look at how things are now, women are in the workplace, you know, yes, you know, it is said that prostitution is the, you know, the oldest form of work, and it's been here from ever since. The reality is, though, that we as women find ourselves in every spectrum of work. I listen to Lean, and the thing is that most of my career I have worked in construction and oil and gas, and you'd find that it's always with a whole bunch of men. I remember being a 24-year-old in a room full of men in their 50s and wondering, what am I doing here? But then still having to stand my ground and let them know that I am here. And so, you know, it's difficult, but I'll say to Areti that you stand your ground, you make your own path, and as I think it was Lena Safia said, you know, you go there and, you know, find someone within your region, in Indonesia, in your home country, a woman who's doing it and doing it proud and doing it big and not selling herself for less. And, you know, take a pattern from that. And, you know, hopefully it will help to elevate your mindset, your thought, and not only yours, but that of, you know, the persons in your household. So the understanding is clear that it's not just the boy or the son that matters, but me, I matter too as a woman.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Trudy. Hiba, did you want to say something before, or are you good?
And I wanted to also respond to the question of Areti, but I think the group already shared some good experiences in that regard. So I think I'll be fine. Thank you.
Cool. Toby, is this in response to Areti's question, or is this gonna be a different one? If you're like
Oh,
mic
sorry,
isn't.
I was gonna ask a question.
Okay. Areti, did you want any more follow-up with that, or are you good?
No, thank you. That's enough.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Toby, you're good. Tyron.
Okay, so firstly, I would like to say I'm glad I'm here. I think I'm the only male here, and I giving you a bit of a background. I grew up with a single mother since I was 3 years old, three boys, and I think I'm pretty close right now to understanding through the experience of growing up with a single mother, how it is the inequality between the genders. And the question I wanted to ask is something that hit pretty close to my personal experience here in Jordan. I live here in Jordan, although I grew up back in Nigeria. I growing up with a single mother, I've easily seen the patriarchy in the system here after I got here, living most of my life back in Nigeria. But the one that really hit close was seeing a friend that's also a single mother here, going through something very similar to what my mother went through. And because of the structure of the system here, it's more difficult for her. Now, luckily for my family, for me and my brothers, we kind of had a mother that was already working before we lost my dad. And it was easy for her to, also because of the society, it was easy for her as a woman to go into the work space and actually get provide for the family and everything by herself without needing a man. But here, after seeing my friend lose her husband with a kid, one kid, not even 3 boys, she completely fell into the mercy of society. And because she had no job, no good education, because she was married off early, she practically became at the complete mercy of the society and the family and everything. And it just makes me wonder how do you how do you think this kind of issues can actually, I don't know, be quickly connecting to this lady in particular? How do you think she can work things out without enough adequate education to make something of herself, and and practically no work experience because she's practically a housewife with a kid? How does she not continue to be in the mercy of the patriarchy in the system?
Thank
Yeah,
you,
that's it.
Toby. Okay. Does anybody want to start with this one? Sophia or Lean? Any one of you? Or any of the participants? Okay, Lean.
Oh, I was gonna say I would like if any of the participants would like to share their thoughts on this.
Oh, Haley, yes. Please go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to, and I was thinking about this from Lean, what you were saying on the comments of the Harvard study, and thinking about like what are skills that are valued in patriarchal societies and which ones should be. And I think many other people can have great comments off this too, but thinking about like, if you're a housewife, like how many skills that you have, and not saying that women need to only have that as a choice. They should be able to choose what their livelihood is, but thinking about like, if you're nurturing, if you're caring, like how much scheduling if you are a housewife. So not saying that women need to be at home, but saying that like, there are so many skills that are deemed feminine or deemed domestic that are skills that should have value further into society. So not saying like, I want your friend Toby to be able to go to school and get a job, get an education, and get the skills that they need. And I guess also thinking about how a society can also value skills that women already have, that they don't, it's not a deficit of everything they're missing, but there's also the added benefit of what they have worked towards much of their life, or things that they already have.
Anybody else would like to add to that? Or Lean?
Yeah, for following to Haley, actually, one of the things that were mentioned as well, that women do obsess over perfection and getting the job done and right. And unfortunately, this is considered a bad trait to have, or a skill, when in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure in most people out there, it is a good trait. Obsessing about getting the job done and perfecting it is definitely the way to get something done. Sure, we're not, it's not, sometimes it can affect our mental state of if we take it home with us, but I feel like this is what really it means commitment. But they shift that thought and they put it as we obsess, so to make sure that, you know, we put down from ourselves and look at it as a, rather than a skill, that a burden that we have and we are not looked at. So in Toby's situation, and following up to your question, I feel like this is the perfect time for any single mother to start taking courses online. I feel like there's a lot of online education. You know, part of the reason why a lot of women and a lot of girls are dropped out of school, beside of course their periods and their tradition, there is their tradition actually, because of the patriarchy society that we live in, right? So they made marriage as if it's the end goal for any woman. So sometimes it is more, it's prioritized more than education. But what really is good and can work for our benefits right now. So even if you're a single mother, there is a lot of online courses that we can learn. It is not too late. And you know what? There's a lot of jobs that are underestimated and underappreciated that a woman can do and still make income for herself. The whole point right now, they're trying to use her lack of education as a weakness point to make sure that she's still within that circle. But if she actually break free from it and start looking for ways, which I know a lot of women have done actually here and successfully done it. Now I know from one system to another it differentiate and it's unfortunate, but there is definitely ways for it. As long as she doesn't, agree to this circle and continue being, led by, old-fashioned, traditions and whatever they claim they want her to do.
Thank you, Lee. Well, actually, our time is up for this session, and we're gonna go to the next session. But before we continue, I'd just like to say that everybody did actually take some very, very important points. And I actually would like to do one more question regarding to what you guys all have just said right now. I'll give us an extra 10 minutes because we started a bit late anyways in the beginning, which is, well, according to what we've all just been talking about here, it seems that the treatment of women seem to be highly connected to culture to some sense. So in all of y'all's opinions, how do you think we can differentiate culture and the treatment of women, and how exactly are you supposed to get out of a very cultural bubble, you know? For example, like what Lee and Safia and everyone has just said, that you culturally, you would be married by a very young age, for example, and things like that. So, and also in regard to, this reminds me also in regards to areti, because I'm also Indonesian, and I do understand that definitely in our society, they favor men more. And if you're seen as a woman, culturally, we're seen as that you should definitely be the housewife and provide for your husband. And that is the norm here, essentially, you know? So how can you kind of break free out of that, especially when it's like very culture oriented? Yes. I open the floor. Yes, Mercia? Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies, for your presentations and for the discussion so far. I just wanted to add my voice regarding the culture bit, and I think it has to be approached from maybe just a double-edged sword, where, as Sophia put it earlier on, that this inequality, this gender inequality, it's not good for both men and women. So when it started, when the fight started, men felt like women are coming to get from them. So maybe the education was more focused on empowering women, and men still feel to some extent that an empowered woman is just getting space for them, from them. So it's taking from them. So maybe if men are also, an awareness is raised in men that, you know, empowering women, this gender equality is good for both of us. It actually makes them more in the world. They can also have more opportunities and excel more, because women will be supportive, women will be taking other roles. And again, on the culture bit, there are roles that we as women do in our, as an African, we have also our culture where we have roles that are not celebrated, but they're very, very special roles that if they are not done, like a homestead can actually crumble. We have an African proverb that says a home is because of a woman. So because a home is because of a woman, because of the roles that a woman plays. So maybe it's time for those roles that women play that are downplayed to be used entrepreneurially, that we actually make them as livelihood. We are the ones that make soap. We are the ones that actually grow crops that would feed the family. Maybe if we up the game and grow the crops that feed the village, that feed the nation, then we can actually become business people in our own right. So I think it's, as women are fighting, men need to be educated. Women fighting, men educated. I also want to touch on the Harvard, the skills that were mentioned earlier on. I feel that when you talk of confidence, self-confidence, sometimes women do have self-confidence, but sometimes we just want to prove ourselves because a stereotype, we are getting into an environment, in a leadership environment, where it's said to be a male environment. A leader is male, but leader is not male. So when you, as a woman, you get to a leadership position, you try to prove yourself. And sometimes we overdo things. That's how we are said to be emotional. You want to be firm, and you become firmer because you are overstepping, because you want to be male from female. So if sometimes we undo ourselves by trying too hard to prove to the male, and then they start saying, because she's a woman, she is too emotional. Because she's a woman, she's too harsh. Because she's a woman, we are already judged unfairly because of the stereotype that is there. And we must always be aware of those stereotypes, that as women, we are not looked at as people that are supposed to be leaders. So if we have that awareness, we can do better. Like, we will know that there is this risk. There's a line we should not cross. And we should not play to the guys, because the men would trick us into becoming emotional. So we have to be aware of the stereotype that is there, and we make sure that we don't fall for any trick in those roles. Maybe.
Thank you, Marcia. This has actually been great, and I would love to honestly hear everyone's opinion more, but we are running out of time, so unfortunately I have to get to the second stage. And you guys can actually talk about it further, what we've discussed here in the second part of the discussion. So in this part, we're gonna do a brainstorming session. So I'm gonna divide you guys into breakout rooms, and then you guys will have your own team, and I want you guys to have a more intricate conversation about solutions. So our goal here is to find solutions and to create systemic change. So solutions and how to reduce the amount of inequality towards women in our everyday societies, in our communities, and especially in a sense of like, just from our point of view, as us, just a regular people, just people in society living every day, like what can we do as people, the everyday people, to kind of try and stop this type of discrimination? And something that's systemic too. We can't just, like, for example, make campaign and then we stop after a month or something. You know, what can actually create systemic change to help reduce these type of discrimination? So that's what I want you guys to talk about in the brainstorming session. So you guys will have 20 minutes, so quite a few time. So I hope you guys come up with good ideas, and each speaker will come with you guys to help facilitate and take down notes and stuff. And then at the end, you guys will have to present your findings. So one of you guys can do it. You guys can vote on it, etc. Who wants to actually present your findings? Okay, so now I will divide you guys into breakout rooms. Hang on. Okay, so you guys will each be in 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah. I will talk to you in a bit then.
Hello, ladies.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, Haley.
Yeah, so I have an all-girls team. Okay. Well, it's not like there were many choices. Okay, so I will be taking the notes of our discussion, and then you ladies will decide who you want to present the notes, okay? Was that like, were you already volunteering, Haley? Or were
Oh
you
no,
waving?
sorry, I was waving at Cece.
You're waving at Cece.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to be putting them on a Jamboard, and when we're done, you'll be able to see them and make your presentation. Okay. So who wants to go? We're talking about how to change the system. Who wants to start off? I could volunteer you if you're not already. Okay, Marcia.
Like I just previously said, I think to change the situation is to not to stop educating the male, like really focusing on educating the male, so that they understand that you know, redressing this gender inequality is also good for them. It removes pressure from them to be the sole breadwinners. I believe we have a lot of men in prison because they're trying to make ends meet. They're trying to feed their families. So if they see the advantage and they see that it's not, we're not taking things from them, I think that would be a good start as well.
Okay. So them educating men and helping them see the advantages, right? Okay. Yep. Who would like to add? And we could just keep going. We're
I was
brainstorming.
thinking about from what you shared, Areti, not needing to like change everything that's around you, but as an individual being aware of kind of what systems your life has been in. Like what your comment made me think about, like structures that my parents set up or how my brother is treated differently than me, and just being aware of kind of like what you're a part of. And I really like the advice someone gave that was like, find people in your, I think it was, find people who you can connect to. So be aware of the system or the family you're in, whether it's positive or negative to your own empowerment, and then encouraging people to build like their own individual networks. Like this is a network that we have right here just in this moment, but how more women can find networks to feel connected and feel like they have pathways to break out of something that might be holding them back.
All right. So be aware, understand, right? And then find people to connect to and work with. Yep. Okay. Yes. Who else would like to add? Already, you're the only one left.
Yeah, actually, from my point of view, trying, I don't know, but I think trying to change the previous generation, like my mom and my dad, is quite difficult. Because every time I'm trying to remind them that I'm your daughter too, I'm your daughter too, and I'm equal to your son, we will end up fighting. Like I'm asking for more attention and love, and they will say, "You're just too weenie and getting jealous to your brother." But I think that it really happens when I'm like you're saying that I'm trying to find another fellow of favoritism victim. It is mostly my cousins, and we have the same problem because our moms is, this one is what I don't really understand. My moms and their moms are siblings, right?
Okay.
Sisters,
Yeah.
and they're also look exactly the same like us. Like they have brothers that getting favorite, that being a favorite children of their parents and being their apple of eye, and they have no problem with that. But we have right now. I don't know why. What makes me different from my mom generation and our generations? Like they are still being, they have nothing to say to their parents, and even being thankful because everything that yeah, we have to be thankful for everything that our parents provides. Like I think mentally I'm not receiving enough from my parents. I even sometimes I think, is it, am I the one, am I the one who's being wrong here? Why my mom's never say something about favoritism in the generation, but why am I the only one who's asking for equality here? So sometimes I'm a bit confused here.
Yeah.
Is it me that's wrong or them? Gitu.
And I think that's a great discussion to even build on further. Would any of you ladies like to add into this? Like, you know, there's this other family, the cousin's family, and this they're not facing the same, right? That's what you're saying. It's different, as in the family makeup is the same, but they're not facing the same thing you are facing.
Yeah, they are facing the same thing that I have, but
Okay.
they are not complaining at all. But I
Okay,
am
okay.
right
So you're
now.
the one screaming and shouting that I need to be treated equally.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need equality, but they are not asking for that.
Yeah. Okay. And this is about intergenerations, different generations. Any thoughts?
I want to ask Areti, you said that you've had conversations with your parents. Have you tried any conversations with your brothers? How do they feel about that inequality, that favoritism that goes towards them? How do they feel about it?
Because it favors them, they don't mind it very much.
Did you have any discussion though?
It goes nowhere. I mean, like, whenever I say that mom loves you more than me, and I'm giving example of why I think about like that, and they will say you're just overthinking about it.
Okay. All right. Any other advice for Areti? Haley, do you want to throw something in?
Yeah, I don't know if it's advice, but I guess I was thinking about, guys, Sophia, the systems that you talked about, how they're maintained through silence, like the people wanting to speak up saying, no, I deserve more, I want more, and people saying, no, let's keep it how it is. So it's like when people maintain silence, or like sometimes when violence is used to maintain silence is what keeps systems going. So keep speaking up, because you do deserve more. But right, I see like on a larger scale how that does continue systems when people feel like they're the one that is wrong, which can be very harmful. And I think Lean was talking about, and you, Sophia, as well, that can also have mental health, negatively impact mental health if it becomes this it's all in me, which is really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I would add, Areti, absolutely keep speaking up. Very nice strategy you were bringing up, Marcia, about speaking, because you'd be surprised. You might find your advocates in your brothers, you never know. But in this case, that's not the case. And I would say, yeah, find an advocate within the family. And I think that whatever you do, be true to yourself, and do it well, so they can even find good examples with what you do. Right, and that could help the situation. But yeah, systems are hard. When we speak of cultural systems, for us in peace building, that's the hardest part of peace building, the cultural levels, the cultural dimensions, and it takes years to change, if they ever change. I wanted to throw out another question to you ladies. Like, do you know of any examples? Have you experienced this gender inequality, and how did you address it? What did you do in those circumstances? Because we might get some nice points from there as well. Yes.
Wait, Sophia, right, before we get to that question, I also just wanted to add on to what Areti was talking about. Sorry. I just wanted to say that I do definitely understand, in the sense that, yeah, generation issues are kind of a problem that's been happening a lot now, especially between the younger generation and the older generation having to clash with one another. But the thing is, it's just that the world is constantly changing, and there's nothing that we can do about it. We will eventually have to live and adapt with all these different generations and different mindsets, as we do with like cultural differences as well. I mean, just because we don't agree on a lot of things doesn't mean we can't live together. And I'm really sorry that you are going through that in your family right now. But I say honestly, like, just do you, just be you. Obviously, you want equality, you deserve equality, and you should just honestly be you. And even though your parents might favor like men more or your brothers more, I mean, that's just gonna be maybe a mindset thing. And as much as you want to change your parents' mindset on the older generation, that's pretty much impossible, you know? So I think the best thing to do is to kind of live with each other in peace and respect each other's differences at the same time. And of course, that's not always the same thing as an easy thing for everybody to do, but the least we can all do is try, you know? So that's my advice. And also, I think that could be generally in like a solution for us to have in terms of like trying to deal with gender inequality as well. But anyways, you guys can continue. I have to go to the other room now, I'm sorry, and check up on them. So good luck.
Thank you, Cecilia. All right. So would anyone want to share this? My question is, have you experienced this, and what did you do in such a circumstance? Haley, you want to kick off? I can see that yellow thing.
Yeah. Thinking about, right, when you're saying how Marcia brought up, like, can you bring in your like male relatives of advocates, or in what ways can you kind of, I know people talk about like planting seeds rather than like change in the moment, but I remember like being around my family, and there was maybe 5 of my cousins and aunts who were female, and then 5 men who are my aunts or uncles and cousins. And that I noticed this whole conversation, not one woman was asked a question or spoke up. And so like later that day, kind of bringing up to my father, like, oh, did you notice this? This was kind of weird. And seeing that he very much acted defensively, it was like, oh, well, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. Again, that's not an extreme case, but a moment where it's like, I had that moment of perception, I saw something that made me upset, and then seeing like, where can I plant that seed? Will that seed be planted with my dad, or will he ignore it? Will it be planted with my brother? So thinking about moments that you notice, and then bringing them up and trying to see where they can be planted to then bring more awareness to others.
Okay. Keep planting those seeds, huh?
Yeah.
Keep planting the seeds of awareness. Okay. Marcia?
I have a question, Sophia. You are the one who loves statistics.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're looking at just women alone, do we have more women wanting this change? And another huge percentage actually fine with this setup, because we have women who enjoy being the stereotypical woman, you know, and we have women who enjoy, whose focus is about, I'm going to marry a successful man. They themselves don't want to be successful, but they are thinking of, I want to marry a successful man. I just want to make sure that my family is fine. I bring up my children. And of course, their focus as women would also be reinforcing the cultural, that the men will be given more opportunities than the women, because the girls are supposed to focus on makeup and trying to beautify themselves so that they get the best eligible bachelor in the community. So maybe, what is the scale there of
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. There is no study actually that I know of where it's more about the perception of women to, I mean, like globally, right? They're like different small studies and so on. And whether, their own perception to wanting equality. I'll put it that way. And I think it's even very much linked to your question. Sorry, it's very much linked to what Trudy was asking earlier about some women, being in a situation where they fit into the stereotype. Like we can't avoid the intersectionality of economics, as we talked about, and all those things that feed into it. And I think one important thing, I want to hear what you ladies think, is this whole issue of passing on these values from generation to generation. So kind of like what Arati is going through, that her mother, for example, doesn't feel like this is something you should be asking for, because this is something she has been taught as well, you know. And you find a lot of discriminatory practices against women are actually strengthened by women themselves. So what can we do about this? And yes, Cecilia, you know, brought her intervention and said, well, sometimes we can't change it, and that's fine. We have 5 more minutes. But what can we do about this? What do you think?
From my point of view, like trying to make the older generation and maybe changing their mind is almost impossible. So it's all about us. But the problem is, even I'm afraid that I will turn into the likes of my mother later. That's what I'm afraid of right now. So I don't know about others, but I'm still questioning myself for that.
Any other thoughts? Thank you for sharing that, Rechi.
Yeah, this is a response, and also like I want to hear from you all too. As a teacher, I know about, right, your family are often the first people that you see as role models or who you think that you are going to become, and then education and teachers and your community members can show like these are other places you can go, these are other ways that I see. So having like positive representations of teachers. And I guess I wonder from you all, did you have teachers that encouraged you to have dreams or goals, or did you have teachers that almost encourage stereotypes? Like, because I know that teachers can also be negative influences as well, but have you had positive ones?
Marcia, positive, even as a teacher yourself. So Haley, you're a teacher as well, right? Is that what you said? So I have teachers in the room.
Yeah.
Areti, are you a teacher too?
No, I'm still a young doctor, like a future doctor, but I'm still in education.
Okay. Okay. So, Marcia, as a teacher yourself, and did you have teachers like that? Positive ones?
Yes, I think I had teachers like that because at one point I also went to a girls' school, so you know they actually would not have any choice, but they would want us to reach our potential. But I think I also went to school when some things had changed, where because already if you're allowing both girls and boys to go to school and you are giving them the same platform, the teachers had also realized that sometimes girls are smarter than the boys, and so the teachers were encouraging. But yes, you always not find some other teachers that would be thinking girls are not scientific. So they would discourage a girl who's not excellent in science to continue pursuing science, but still encourage a boy who's not excellent in science to continue pursuing science. So some stereotypes would also continue, but I think it was an improved environment.
I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great question because, as you said, Haley, teachers do shape a lot of our lives and ambitions. For me, I think I remember that we didn't have too much before. I went to mixed school throughout, so mixed schools. So we didn't have a lot of that, like anyone outrightly saying, you know, not discouraging us as girls. But I think one thing that did come through was there were many. You might be questioned if you, as you said, Marcia, as a girl, they expected you to do home economics and those kinds of things, and the boys would be more of technical drawing and so on. But I think fortunately I didn't have to go through that too much. But the funny thing is my mother, who's extremely strong, would also still find, and this is a generational thing again, she's strong, she's been a role model, but at the same time she would also expect certain things, me to conform to gender roles. So that's interesting. Yeah. Haley, what about you? Just a quick one before we have to leave. Teachers, your own role models?
Yeah, so I teach middle school kids. So for in the US, that's like kids 10 through 14. So definitely like that identity phase. But when I was a student, I definitely had a lot of role models in music, but teachers that were very confident in themselves and then also confident in us so that they would, right, believe that I wanted to work for my highest potential, but then just seeing them be confident as a female teacher was also strong. because there's been studies that grade school teachers, if they're female and they're not as confident in math, that has negative impacts on the girl students in their class. So thinking about how to empower those female teachers so they're also positive role models. But yeah, it's a great job. If anyone recommend it.
Yeah, you have to be called to do this. So quick one, who's going to present? Because we're going to leave in a few seconds. Who will present? I have all, I tried to summarize. So who's going to present? Who would like to present?
You can summarize for us.
No, I can't. I'm not allowed to. Yeah. I'm not allowed to.
I think I won't be able to do that because I'm still confused here myself.
You'll be fine already. All right.
But you said you took notes on a Jamboard?
Yes, I did. So you would be able to see them and take them off. You want to present, Haley?
Sure, I can help present.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, ladies. Very interesting conversations. And I really hope things get better, alrighty, and just stay strong.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Is everyone back?
We're back.
Okay. Awesome. I'm sorry it's already like 9:30, but I said I'm giving us 10 extra minutes. I hope that's okay with all of you guys. So yeah, it's probably gonna go on a little bit more, and I'm sorry if any of you guys are in a hurry or anything. But yes, you guys will have, I'll put it down to 5 minutes to present your result. Hopefully shorter than that if possible, but 5 minutes. And okay, let's start with group 1 then.
Okay, I'm just gonna share the screen, and Haley has volunteered to present for the group. Are we good, Haley? Can you see it?
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, so thank you to my group, to Marcia, to Sophia, and Sophia's tech with her presentation and Jamboards. But yeah, we went around, had a really nice discussion that Cecilia was also in, that arranged to educating and who should be educated. And Marcia went back to this idea of we should be, we as a whole world should be educating women on their individual potentials, but also on men, how patriarchy hurts them as well. We had a longer discussion on generational issues, what things you can change, what things you can't. But seeing moments where you can plant seeds of awareness, but then also thinking about individually yourself, how you can build up your own concept of yourself. I brought up, since I'm a teacher, the role of teachers and kind of how those influence you. But also we were just thinking about other outside networks, how you can think about maybe allies within your own home, advocates within your own home, but then expanding outside. And then just thinking broadly this idea of role models. So creating a community where change can occur.
Awesome. I'm just gonna give do you have 3 minutes left? So I'm gonna open up this floor to anybody who wants to comment or ask regarding the findings of group 1. Does anybody have any questions? Because if not, I will ask questions. Okay, then I will ask the question. Okay, here you said keep planting the seeds of awareness. Can you give us an example of any ideas of how to do that exactly?
Someone from the group?
The keep planting the seeds of awareness, it was based on the fact that even in the family, we are against keeping quiet, keeping silent, and we know that it's difficult, if we're dealing with cultural issues, they take longer, they take years and years to change them. So it's important, given different circumstances, you can have a conversation, raise an issue. Maybe it could be an issue that you'd have seen in the media, and then you're also sharing your perception, you're planting a seed maybe with your parents or with your brothers, with your siblings, and you keep planting those seeds. It may not have an impact there and there, but we just want to continue planting the seeds of awareness.
Awesome. Any other questions? We still have a few minutes, or any comments? No? Okay, then that's fine then. We can go to group 2 then. And Lean, it's your team.
Perfect. I'll share the findings that we came up with, and every single member of my team will be talking about the point they came up with. So give me 1 second. I'm going to be sharing my screen. Okay. So we have the so how to end systemic discrimination. We had the first point as media. Toby, would you like to further touch upon that? Toby with us today. Toby, you here? No? Okay.
He's here, but he's on mute, I think.
Oh, you're muted, sir.
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Toby, would you like to discuss further about media, since you came up with this great idea?
Okay, so we talked, I'm very, very close to raising awareness. I feel like another way to raise awareness for gender equality is the media. I discussed with the group about the idea I'm currently working on with making films, and because we know the media these days is the one weapon that everybody has and can use. And we talked about using the media to what I'm doing is usually right now is switching the gender roles, although the group kind of came up with even more ideas of putting men in women's stereotypical roles and women in men's roles, to just show kids, also make child-friendly videos that would educate them, probably with humor, with fun, and just videos that can actually build up ideas that would break the stereotypes and the inequality that's going on in society, using the media to create as much awareness as possible and make a real change. Yes, that's it.
Thank you, Toby. The second point, we have Hiba up with a great point as well. Would you like to take it up?
Yes, so the point is in relation to adding like the education of gender equality and equity in the curriculums, because what I was trying to say is that since I was young until even now, I didn't have any formal education on that topic, and the only way I learned about it was through my engagement in the civil society. So, so the point is, so why not include in the universities as a formal type of awareness or education on this, the way that in some liberal art universities we are required to take some intercultural studies. It's like, why not be required to take some studies in relation to gender equality and equity? And this way, definitely would not see the impact like the same year, but in the future generation, this would definitely lead to seeing a really tangible impact in that regard.
Thank you so much, Hiba. Trudy came up with also a great point that we ended up going a little over time to explain it further. Trudy, you here? Can't see the participants. You're on mute. Oh,
yes, yes.
Trudy, tell us about.
Essentially,
sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Essentially, what I am getting at is that not everyone is academically inclined, and so we need to make room for those who are not. And mentioning Toby's skill set where he does filmmaking, it's just a point to note that there are other aspects of skills that persons can learn without having to necessarily go into a classroom or take up a book. And so taking up tools, you know, whether it's whatever type driven tool to do the job. So, you know, you can learn a skill, you can get into you know, cabinetry or woodwork or carpentry, or which is essentially all in the same line, or any other type of skill you can get into. And like I said, filmmaking is also a skill set. And so, you know, we have to look at other aspects of getting involved besides the actual academics. And once we can marry the two, or even leave one from the other, then chances are we'd be able to capture a larger cross section of our societies.
Thank you so much, Trudy. And the very last point that we came up with also is landing gender equality and equity on the political agenda, meaning when rules are in place, eventually inequality will vanish. So these are the findings we came up with as a team.
Awesome. Thank you, Lead and Group 2. You guys did awesome. Well, this pretty much ends our discussion for today then. And I'd like to thank you ladies plus Toby so much for attending this and coming up with really, really great ideas. So all the findings that and our whole discussion today, I'll compile it into one story that you can actually view in Hybris Media, and I'll definitely let you guys know when that'll be up via email if you left your email in the registration, and via the Facebook event group as well. So you guys can look out for that, and you can always like share it with anybody if you think it'll be any good for any future planning purposes from their side and stuff. So again, thank you so much, guys, and this has been really great, and I really, really am impressed with all the solutions, and I hope you really have enjoyed it, and thank you. And now I'd like if Lean or Sophia or any of you guys want to say anything or any final goodbyes, or if you're in a hurry, you can leave now. That's okay too.
So I would go ahead. Okay, so I just really want to appreciate everyone that's here, and thank you especially to Toby. It's very important that these conversations are inclusive of everyone. Yes, Naija for life. And really, really love the contributions. Please keep spreading this message. Whatever little you can do is something. And civil society, let's step up our work, and let's work together to achieve this. And stay safe, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. It was really nice meeting you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for your contribution. It was a really interesting talk, and glad to meet all of you.
Yes.
And the final thing is, like, I would like to stay in touch with all of you. So I'm not sure if our emails are all available, Cecilia, or we should, if any, I would love to stay in touch, and I'm pretty sure future projects will be happening, and I'm pretty sure we'll all meet each other at one point. So I would love to stay in touch. I'm not sure how, but somehow, like, do we exchange emails?
If you want, if everyone gives consent for this, maybe I can actually like compile your emails and send it out to each other in the group email thing, if everyone is okay with that. That way, if anybody wants to contact anybody, you guys can email each other. And yeah, also, if anybody wants Sophia's presentation, if it's okay with Sophia, I can send it to you guys. Is that all right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool. I can send that via email as well. Yes, Toby.
Trudy, sorry, where are you calling from again? Trudy.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Awesome. I was trying to figure out. You have an amazing accent. I love it.
You should have heard at the airport when they tried to pronounce Trinidad and Tobago.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, then in that case, again, thank you so much, guys. You're welcome to leave, or if any of you guys still want to network or anything. But if you guys all leave though, as can Sophia and Lean stay behind with me real quick? But okay, thank you guys so much, and please wait for the result. It might take a while since it's gonna be a lot of compiling stuff, so don't hate me if it takes a while. And yeah, thank you guys so much. You ladies plus Toby are amazing, seriously.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Hybris.
Guys,
Bye.
thank you so much for coming.